Triple H has fundamentally changed the world of the WWE. Right now, the product is as good as it's ever been, and I put a lot of that credit on the back of Triple H. So in today's video, I asked you what you thought was the best Triple H booking decision since he took over as head of creative. I'm going to go over your answers. I'm going to tell you what I think, whether I agree or disagree. And I've got a bit of a different background and lighting today. I'm doing a bit of renovations around my area, so I'm actually sitting for the first time in like a really long time in these videos. And as always, don't forget to subscribe to this channel, ring that bell for notifications. If you're a wrestling fan, I am confident you're going to fall in love with his YouTube channel because we always upload daily wrestling content. All right, let's jump into it. Bringing him back. I didn't think it was possible. I would say that this is probably my favorite Triple H era thing that has happened. The return of CM Punk to the WWE seemed like something out of an alternate reality, something that didn't actually seem possible. Now, I'm sure that this was more than just Triple H. We've heard that Nick Khan had a lot to do with CM Punk's return to the WWE, and just simply the fact that Vince McMahon wasn't around probably was a big reason as to why CM Punk decided to make the call to come back to the WWE. But still, this goes in the win column of Triple H because it's one of the best things that has happened in the last like 10 years of professional wrestling, in my opinion. I'm not going to sit here and bore you and tell you once again as to why CM Punk is such an important figure in my life as a professional wrestling fan, but I just didn't think I would see the day again. And since his return, he's had some fantastic storylines, albeit he's been injured for a good chunk of his time in the WWE. But since coming out of that injury, he's had a great feud with Drew McIntyre, some great violent matches. We have an upcoming Hell in a Cell match, and he's still CM freaking Punk on the microphone. The addition of CM Punk was just stacking another uber megastar in an organization that was already jam-packed full of megastars, and I thought that they were going to have a tough time figuring out how to use CM Punk, but that just hasn't been the case. It almost feels like it was status quo, like it was still 2013, 2014, where CM Punk just sort of picked up exactly where he left. I know that CM Punk doesn't have a heck of a whole lot of years left in the world of professional wrestling, but it's just a good thing to have him back in the WWE. It feels like many of the issues of the past of the 2010s have been healed simply with the presence of CM Punk. He's like a physical manifestation that the company as a whole has gotten just so much better and less toxic. But yeah, this to me is my number one. CM Punk returning is still something that honestly, I gotta wash Triple H's feet. I gotta kiss him because of this decision. Bringing this man to the WWE. See, now you're talking. I just spent a good chunk of time glazing CM Punk, but you got your priorities on straight. The bringing in of Ricky, a true uber indie megastar, into the WWE, that was the real needle mover. Jokes aside, I would unironically like to see Ricky return again to the WWE. I think he would get a monumental pop at the Royal Rumble. I'm not even kidding. This goes to a larger point because the world of the WWE has gotten so ingrained with memes in the community, and when something becomes a meme, when the community latches onto something, it just becomes organically huge. And I know it was only for 1 week, but for that 1 week, Ricky was one of the most popular wrestlers on the planet. But yeah, I know this is a joke, this is a meme. I wouldn't put this up in like the greatest Triple H era booking decisions of all time. These two finally getting what was due to them. Hard work pays off. This is the quintessential definition of what the Triple H era is all about. Making you wait for the moment that you've been clamoring for. And the best representation of it is LA Knight and Jey Uso. These guys were both so incredibly popular, so over, that under previous regimes like Vince McMahon, the natural conclusion would have just been to pull the trigger on them right then and right there. And sometimes that's for the best. They take the ball and they run with it, but sometimes you give them the title and they just aren't ready for that moment, and then they just sort of become transitional champions. But with Triple H, he really made both LA Knight and Jey Uso basically learn how to eat shit because he spent a whole year of just edging us time after time after time, making us believe that they're finally going to win a major singles accolade just for the rug to be pulled out from under us, thus making the moment for when they actually achieve that huge moment a monumental moment for the mid-card in the WWE. Both LA Knight winning and Jey Uso winning, to me, are kind of on the same level of we finally got to the destination that we've been going towards for the entire year. It felt earned and it just sort of felt right. And obviously it's easy to talk about this with the power of hindsight, but now knowing how great the moments were of both of them winning their individual championships, I'm glad that we live in this era of Triple H where he makes us earn these big moments as opposed to just giving us all of these great moments when they aren't necessarily ready to come out of the oven. But I think both of these are great moments in the Triple H era, and I wouldn't be surprised if it's individual in people's favorite moments from Triple H's booking. The Wyatt 6 debut. If I could add another one on top of this, the return of Bray Wyatt was just so well executed under Triple H, and so was the debut of the Wyatt 6. I love the viral marketing with the QR codes, the white rabbit going down the hole with the return of Bray Wyatt. I loved everything that they did for both of those returns. Obviously, unfortunately, we didn't really get the culmination of what the plan was with Bray Wyatt, but at the very least, we're seeing it with the Wyatt 6, even if it is in spirit. I'm very just incredibly curious as to how they're going to be using the Wyatt 6 in the long run, but that debut, the unveiling of the Wyatt 6 when they killed everyone backstage, including Chad Gable, was maybe one of the most impactful debuts that I've seen or re-debuts of a WWE superstar ever. And I just don't think that the Wyatt 6 would be treated in the same vein that they're being treated today under Vince McMahon or other regimes. I feel like under Triple H, it's being done right and it's not being overexposed. The ring general, Gunther. One of the things that hasn't really been talked about enough under Triple H is that Triple H has actually done a pretty decent job and not just elevating the existing stars and making them feel like uber mega stars, but also creating new stars and refilling the main event scene with new faces like Damian Priest and now Gunther. Gunther was a Triple H project from the get-go over in NXT UK, and then you could tell that from the onset of him coming into NXT 2.0, he was just not the vision that somebody like Vince McMahon wanted to move forward with. If there's anybody that has benefited the most out of Triple H being in power, aside from us, the fans, it's probably Gunther, because I just have this feeling that he would have been Rusev had he been under the Vince McMahon era. Rusev walked and got booked into oblivion so that the ring general Gunther could fly and go into the main event scene. But yeah, Triple H has demonstrated that he's quite good at making new stars, not just inheriting the already existing megastars and running with them. He's demonstrated it here with Gunther. I really enjoyed that they started acknowledging the existence of other promotions outside of WWE and even started allowing crossovers. As a wrestler on the indies, having the opportunities to be in the same locker room as signed talent is exciting, educational, and encouraging. This is absolutely massive, and when you look at business impact, this might be the most important Triple H decision so far. This is sacrilege under Vince McMahon, working together side by side, singing Kumbaya My Lord, and sharing a locker room with other wrestlers from other organizations is just not something that would ever happen, let alone letting WWE contracted wrestlers go to other places like TNA and lose. It's just not something that would ever happen had Triple H not been here. And obviously this is great for the fans because we get to see all of these crazy scenarios play out, like Shayna Baszler and GCW. We have Jordan Grace coming to WWE. We have Joe Hendry main eventing NXT shows. We have NXT talent honing their talents in Japan like Tavion and TNA as well. Overall, this is great for every brand in professional wrestling that's part of this circle of collaboration. It's great for the fans because we get a better, more unique product. And it also is better for the wrestlers because they get to expand their wealth of knowledge across various promotions and learn from various promotions. The forbidden door was always like sealed shut. It wasn't like locked and closed. I'm talking it was welded. It was never going to open under Vince McMahon, but under Triple H, it's flourishing, and I cannot wait to see what kind of boundaries they continue to push over the next several years now that we know that WWE under Triple H is willing to play ball with other organizations. It's just exciting. If you sleep hot at night, you know just how disruptive that can be, whether it's preventing you from falling asleep, or maybe it's making you wake up in the middle of the night sweating, or perhaps all of the above. That, folks, is where GhostBed can help. As the makers of the coolest beds in the world, GhostBed is your go-to for cooling mattresses, cooling pillows, and even cooling bedding. From their signature Ghost Ice fabric to patented technology that adjusts with your body's temperature, every GhostBed mattress is designed with cooling in mind. So whether you want a plushier mattress that cushions those shoulders and hips, or firmer options with exceptional support, your GhostBed will keep you cool and comfortable all night. What's nice is when you purchase a GhostBed mattress, your comfort is guaranteed. And that's because you can try out your mattress for 101 nights risk-free and make sure it's the right fit for you. Plus, they offer free shipping for most items within just 24 hours. Now, if you're not sure which GhostBed is for you, go check out their mattress quiz where you'll answer a few questions and get your personalized recommendation. Or you can just reach out to their friendly team of sleep experts for all the help that you need. What's even better is that my viewers can get 50% off site-wide for a limited time. Just visit ghostbed.com/Santi and use code Santi at checkout. Again, that's ghostbed.com/Santi with the code Santi at checkout to save a whopping 50% off site-wide. Thank you to the folks at GhostBed for sponsoring this video. Now let's get back into it. This story made me fall in love with wrestling again after falling out of love for about 5 years. I always love hearing these stories of like what brings people back into wrestling. I've said it before on this channel that for me, it was the summer of Punk and The Rock coming back to wrestling in 2011. That's what brought me back. And I'm not surprised that this storyline and everything that was going on with the Bloodline brought you and a bunch of other people back into wrestling, because it was the best storyline that I'd seen in wrestling in like 15 plus years. And this right here, the culmination of Sami Zayn finally stepping up to the tribal chief Roman Reigns out of the Bloodline saga, this might be my favorite arc of the entire Bloodline saga because it was just so goddamn good. And it led, of course, into the main event of night one at WrestleMania 39 and the main event of Elimination Chamber in one of the best matches of the year and one of the best story arcs of the year. But this culmination of the Sami Zayn saga honorary oos leading up until this major moment at the Royal Rumble and everything they did afterwards just to me gave me all of the confidence to allow Triple H, as we now say, to let him cook, because he takes his time, he allows things to develop, and then he pulls the trigger on the major story beats when it has finally been earned. And this was one of those moments. The build to this, I would say that the 4-month build from Raw Day 1 all the way up to WrestleMania 40 Night 2 was maybe the best 4-month stretch of professional wrestling that I've ever personally witnessed. I really don't think I'm over exaggerating on that either. I really try and look at like the stretches of time throughout the Ruthless Aggression era, PG era, 2010s, and I cannot find a more exciting, more on the edge of my seat stretch of months than that one. Whether it was gonna be Bloodline Rules, the final boss, the culmination of Cody's story, will they be able to work together, Seth and Cody who hate each other. There was just so much good shit going on. But if you watch the WrestleMania 40 documentary, you know that this wasn't Triple H. This was The Rock, because of course The Rock said, we're going to do this and it's going to happen. All of Nia Jax's runs so far, I think this is an underrated choice. I wouldn't have it near the top, but under Triple H, this has been the best version of Nia Jax, and it's not even close. Not injuring people, having decent matches, just being significantly much better than she was under Vince McMahon. I don't think that anyone would deny that. Is she my favorite? She still isn't, but she is far more valuable as an asset to the WWE roster, in my opinion, now than she was back then. And I think that speaks volumes to Triple H being able to get the best out of every individual talent, even if it's talent that we've seen already climb the mountain and be at the top under Vince McMahon, because she was a former women's champion, but that time when she was women's champion compared to now just sort of pales in comparison to what she's doing at this very moment under Triple H. Dom, who was already heel, became double heel when he betrayed Rhea and Liv. The man's a genius. Triple H has just been so good at just poking where it hurts. He knows that Dominik Mysterio is the biggest heat magnet on the planet, and he doesn't try to reinvent the wheel. He just allows Dom to go out there and continue to press where it hurts to get even more heat, to be the biggest, most hated evil guy in the entirety of all of pro wrestling. Mind you, we're talking about a guy that not that long before Triple H took over was one of the most boring, most obvious nepotism hires that you could possibly think of. There were so many people that just didn't believe that Dominik Mysterio deserved the spot that he was in, that he was just sort of riding coattails with Rey Mysterio, and I have a hard time disputing that. But under Triple H, he has flourished on his own, separated himself from his dad, and become one of the most entertaining under 30 WWE superstars that they have, to the point that I think he's going to be an incredibly valuable asset for the next 15 years of WWE programming and booking. You just cannot manufacture the heat that Dominik Mysterio is able to get. Triple H recognizes that and just lets the kid run and lets the kid get as much heat as humanly possible. The Drew Punk feud has been phenomenal, but these few moments really make it. I know some people aren't a big fan of Drew cashing in so soon, but I think it emphasizes the desperation to do anything that he can for the title, and that Punk will do anything to stop him. This is actually a really great way of putting it. By the way, I'm still entirely against the notion of having Drew McIntyre cash in early, but I love the way that you put it. I feel like this really frames it in a way that makes sense. I'm not gonna dig into the fact as to why I still think it's a bad idea, but I digress. We know CM Punk could deliver amazing storylines. It's CM freaking Punk, and Triple H bringing back CM Punk was a huge deal, as we've already talked about in this video. But not only has CM Punk returned to the WWE, not only has Nia Jax, who's already been a world champion, become an even badder world champion under Triple H, but somebody else that climbed the top of the mountain before has now pierced that mountain and is now at the top of an even taller mountain in Drew McIntyre, because Triple H is able to take these guys or gals that have already accomplished stuff and just get even more out of them. Right now, we are witnessing the best run of Drew McIntyre's entire career. It just sort of feels like he has a bit more freedom with Triple H than he did with Vince McMahon, because he's not this rigid, one-dimensional character. He really is a very complex human being that's really going through some shit. And I think it took somebody like Triple H to be able to book Drew McIntyre to the best of Drew McIntyre's abilities, and we're seeing it pay dividends in today's landscape. Easily, it's this: Seth becoming the first champ for the title was the best way to start a legacy of this, quote, new belt. This is an underrated choice. I think you're 100% right on this one. This is one of the top Triple H decisions since he's taken over. It might not be the most glamorous. It's not like a mega uber CM Punk return to the WWE that fundamentally changes the landscape of the WWE roster, but this was a smart, calculated decision that would have a ripple effect for many, many years now. Because had you started with the wrong champion, with the wrong championship reign, this would have felt like the loser's belt, like the consolation belt, especially when this belt was introduced alongside Roman Reigns' incredible record-breaking streak. But because it was given to Seth Rollins, somebody who already brought prestige because of what he's already accomplished in the WWE, because he went on to have amazing matches, because he went on to have great storylines, because he went on to have a beefy first championship reign, it set up that championship as a whole for major future success, which then by proxy sets up Drew McIntyre, Damian Priest, and Gunther for success. And all of that was because of Triple H's brilliant decision to have Seth Rollins be the inaugural World Heavyweight Champion. Nowadays, I do not see the World Heavyweight Championship as a secondary belt. It's a world title, and it started because of Triple H's decision to have Seth Rollins be the guy. The Damian Priest cash-in at WrestleMania was awesome and added more fuel to the fire for Punk and Drew. Plus, it was the first time in years that we saw a cash-in at Mania. This really was a lot of birds with just one stone cast because of a brilliant Triple H decision. Like you said, this added so much fuel to the fire of Punk and Drew. Additionally, this made a new superstar, a new main eventer out of Damian Priest, just like we talked about Gunther. This is another one of those fresh faces in the main event scene that we've gotten thanks to the booking of Triple H. And you could have gotten Damian Priest to the main event scene in a different way, but this was just such an awesome introduction to a world champion main event Damian Priest that he just became a mainstay of that. This was brilliant out of just like pure sheer excitement. It's freaking awesome. But also what it did for the future of several storylines and individual wrestlers like Damian Priest moving forward. It was great. Not necessarily his best booking or even how he's handled damage control since this point, but this was the moment that he told everyone that he's the one in charge. Awesome debut on a big stage and a great start for the Triple H era. A lot of people kind of forget about this. A lot of people forget that this was like the Triple H era beginning. Like this was what felt like we had turned the page and we had now reached the chapter that read Paul Levesque. It was a great way to reintroduce Bayley, who was coming back from a long hiatus, in a brilliant way to call up two NXT darlings and Io Shirai at the time, renaming her to Io Sky, as well as Dakota Kai. But like you said, this was Triple H saying that he's in charge, and WWE just felt the better for it and continued to build on the momentum months after SummerSlam. Sure, Damage Control wasn't necessarily treated the best, but they weren't treated the worst either. But it is what started, to me, symbolically, the start of the Triple H era, this moment right here. I love the best of 7 playoff feeling with Andrade and Melo. It has helped SmackDown men's midcard so much, and it's must watch. I think this is an underrated choice. I feel like because of Triple H's booking of not just this feud, but just the midcard in general, it's felt a lot more special across both Raw and SmackDown. Look at what's been going on with LA Knight, Jey Uso, the Braun Strowman versus Bronson Reed monster mash that's going on there. That whole saga with Chad Gable and the Wyatt Six that we saw. Sami Zayn and Chad Gable earlier this year. The stuff that was going on with Gunther before he became world heavyweight champion. There is so much to point at that the mid-card is so much healthier because of Triple H. Before, it was main event or bust, it sort of felt like, with Vince McMahon. But now these mid-card feuds could get to the point where they're main eventing major episodes of Raw and SmackDown like we've seen recently. He's been struggling to get them on PLEs, but I feel like it's been a trade-off. You build the mid-card so that they're the anchors and what's carrying the weekly shows, and you allow the main event scenes to culminate and flourish on PLEs. I feel like it's a good trade-off. Gotta be The Rock turning heel before Mania. This set up one of the best feuds of the modern era and one of the best Mania main events. This entire press conference was a brilliant idea. How it was executed was genius. Don't forget that this was less than a week off the back of the entire wrestling world being up in arms that Cody Rhodes got the shaft, the start of the We Want Cody movement. Triple H will tell you, hey, we knew what the destination was. We always put it into the GPS. Bullshit. I still call bullshit on that. I feel like Triple H was like, oh, damn, this didn't work. Time to play the game and fix it. And I feel like he did a brilliant job. Man, again, I'm reminiscing on those first 4 months of the year. And this was one of those incredible, just mind-bending moments in wrestling. Jacob Fatu's debut was done so well. It really elevated the Bloodline 2.0 and the Bloodline story in general. Made him look like a real badass. I guess we can kind of harken back to what we talked about with the Wyatt Six, because this debut was on the same week as the Wyatt Six. What a great introduction for individuals that are being reintroduced into the world of the WWE Universe in the Wyatt Six, and Jacob Fatu, somebody that's being entirely introduced for the first time to the WWE Universe. Triple H in that week demonstrated that he's a master at putting people that he wants you to pay attention to and make you pay attention to them, like Jacob Fatu, who had one of the most legendary beatdowns of baby faces in a major debut that I've ever seen. Finally splitting up and changing the design of these damn titles. Yes and yes, although the split up hasn't entirely worked as we had wanted, but at least we got the damn thing. Still so happy that this happened. I wouldn't have this on my top tier list, but I think this goes to just how smart Triple H is at realizing how to transition a belt from somebody to the next person, because Rhea Ripley needing to relinquish the belt would have meant that the next person that took it would have always sort of had that cloud hanging over them that you're only champion because Rhea Ripley isn't champion, unless you're already an established Hall of Famer in Becky Lynch. So giving her the title and then having her drop the title is a genius way of maintaining the importance of the lineage of the championship without ruining it, because you're just giving the belt to somebody because the champion that you actually wanted was injured. It was smart. All right, folks, thank you so much for watching this video. We'll get back to normal in terms of backgrounds next video, but that's it. I'm done. Get out of here.